Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Great to be here with you, folks. It is Thursday at Financial Issues, and we're happy to have you. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case, your host, Mark Manila. Everyone's here, ready to rock and roll, boys, as we were talking about in the pre-show with our love for music, or our lack thereof knowledge, in my case. Mark, excited for the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And what else is exciting is we're just this far away, one day from overtime.
Can't wait. Can't wait. I know you all have been just itching at it. You're like, when is overtime? It's been so long for overtime. I've been missing that
whole
overtime-shaped vacuum in my heart. Well, it's coming, folks, tomorrow. All right? So make sure you join us exclusively on financialissues.org and on the FI.
This is Overtime Eve right now.
Overtime Eve. That's right. Overtime Eve. We're almost
Build the anticipation.
Exactly. And our phone lines are open, though. So if you're waiting for overtime and you want something to do, give us a call. The phones are open. 610-363-1110. We'd love to talk to you. Preborn campaigns marching on. So grateful for all of you giving. Also, we go deep into the social media drama regarding the banking fears with our good friend Kevin Freeman. Kevin's joining us in less than 10 minutes. Stay tuned for that, folks. It's going to be fun. First and foremost, though, guys, today is National Day of Prayer, a very special day in our nation's history, the first Thursday of May, dedicated as a day really dedicated to the Lord, where we dedicate our country back to the Lord. Gentlemen, what do you guys think? Mark, I'll start with you. What does this day mean to you?
It means that the focus is right for those people who jump into this and realize it should be every day, should be National Day of Prayer, because this country was given to us by God and it was founded on Christian principles, and we need to be grateful every day for this country and for the stewardship that he has given us over it. So I think it's one of the most important days of the year.
Absolutely. Sam, we had a very, I think, really poignant words from our 47th president. What did Trump say?
That's right. He posted this proclamation yesterday, I believe, in anticipation of today. The whole thing's really good. You can read it on the White House website, but I'll just read the conclusion because it's absolutely wonderful. He says, "We pledge that America will always, as it's written in Psalm 96, tell his glory among the nations, and that we will never forget God's role in creating, protecting, and sustaining the freest, strongest, most prosperous, and greatest country the world has ever known."
Amen. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to hear that, Mark, from the leader of the free world.
My gosh, yes.
If we as a nation could just return, and you know what, Mark, I really do believe that we're getting there. People call me a foolish optimist, and I might be, honestly, but I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think we're going to see some brighter days ahead. I really do. But it's going to take us as a nation turning back to the Lord corporately, and it starts at the top. It really does.
Well, unfortunately, with all the media, with all the corporate money, with all the things that is poured into the actual wrong ideas or wrong direction for a company, the whole confusing people about their thoughts, like you're not compassionate if you don't embrace anything and everything somebody wants to embrace and then wants you to embrace. But not only you to embrace it, but you to not only say it's okay, but also participate in it. You know, it got out of control, and it does that over and over, and it goes in cycles. We've seen it in the Bible. We see it in modern day. We just need to grow closer to Christ. And guess what? Stewardship does that for you. When you get serious about your stewardship, realizing God owns it all, it's all God's, and he just entrusts it to you, including your own life is his, and he entrusts you to steward that. Everything in your life is his. When you start realizing that, you get to grow closer and closer to Christ, and then these complicated and confusing arguments just become fog and mist, and you dismiss them and you continue forward in the light.
That's right. Love that you're focusing right there on the individual there, Mark, because the only way that this nation is going to become a Christian nation once again is if each of the individuals in it realign their heart back with Christ. And really, that's the only thing we can control is our relationship with Christ, not the nations or our neighbors. It's only our relationship with God.
Amen,
Absolutely.
guys. Yeah, well said. Well, 610-363-1110. Folks, you want to chime in, boy, we'd love to hear from you as you join us this National Day of Prayer. Guys, let's look at some interesting news here from a financial perspective. Looks like companies, Sam, are crushing earnings reports this earnings season. Interesting.
Yeah, crushing is the right word indeed, Seth. So far, with the reporting we have, I think about 75% or so of companies have reported their Q1 earnings. 84% of S&P 500 companies have beaten earnings this quarter, well above the 10-year average of 76%. And if that holds true, if that 84% number does hold true for the rest of the quarter, it would be the highest share of S&P 500 companies reporting positive earnings per share since Q2 of 2021. That was when we saw 87% beat their estimates. So, Mark, usually we don't talk about earnings too much because it depends on really the individual companies. But here we're seeing a mass swath of companies just absolutely blowing out these earnings. So what do you think is contributing to this particularly strong quarter?
What could it be? Could it be a administration that embraces capitalism, embraces individuals being successful, embraces low taxes, embraces growing an economy, low interest rates, and everything that he did the first time around, he's done in 1 year this time instead of 4 years. And we're seeing where the media has got it all wrong, and the economy is much stronger, and corporations are growing much faster. I wonder what it could be. Maybe it's this president.
You know, Mark, I'd be tempted to agree with you if I didn't read my CNBC, Wall Street Journal, and Market Watch.
Oh, Sam. Nailed it. You nailed it. Yeah, it really is. It's a good thing. We're seeing a lot of companies beating revenue expectations. And that, along with them just beating their earnings, you know, I think it's very important that we realize revenue expectations are really big. And if they're beating those, it means their sales, their ability to create product, to deliver product, and then collect on that product is really good. So this is really good stuff. It's a growing economy. And that doesn't mean, in case our current and new federal chairman is listening, that doesn't mean that causes inflation. An expanding economy does not cause inflation. It's a printing of money. Please get that down before you take over for sure, for everything. But anyway,
Mark, maybe you should be the new Fed chair. No. Because we want you as our host. That's why.
Hey, I can talk gobbledygook. But yeah, I think it's really important. You know, companies have become more efficient. When we went through COVID, and then we went into all sorts of darkness with the Biden administration of anti-business, anti-growth, anti-freedom, anti-God, anti-everything. It was an anti-government. They had to get lean and mean. They did that, and the J curve on that means we're now seeing what that means. So where expectations are being broke. The bar had been lowered for them, but that's not all. They really are, with the earnings and everything else, are breaking that. But here's where I really want to make a clear statement. Don't confuse a strong quarter with a fair valuation. Remember, one of the reasons we do the financial issue steal analysis, which is our secret sauce on how we analyze things, one of the reasons we do that is to help people realize a strong company does not mean a strong buy. A company can be very strong and be too expensive. A great business can still be too expensive. And we're seeing a lot of that now. The valuations have gone through the ceiling. And I think we're going to talk about one of those here shortly after this little segment. So, we want to let you know, what do you do with this? Well, look for companies that not only beat earnings, but revenues. Pay close attention to their guidance, what they're saying going forward, because just because they beat it this quarter doesn't mean they see that going on into the next year or two. Raised guidance is more important than a 1 quarter beat. The bottom line on it is that, and even if Even if they look good, if their valuation's through the ceiling, you got to be very careful. That's why we use free cash flow. That's why we use PEG ratios. That's and look at balance sheet strength when we're doing our valuation of a company. So not just PEs and not just whether they beat their numbers. That's not it. So the Christian investor should not be driven by fear of missing out. That's the bottom line. You got to be smart. It might be a great company, but it could be overvalued, and that could cause some major pullbacks in the short and midterm, which most people don't want to live through. So I hope that makes sense, Seth. I hope that gives everybody a good view on it. And what I'd like to do is look at a stock when we come back, possibly, and break that down for everybody. And you can join in the conversation by calling in 610-363-1110. You might have questions either about the stock we're going to look at, because one of the reasons we're going to look at Palantir is because it has been talked about so much on the internet and in our chats.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really, really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachourschools.com.
Fear and uncertainty can cause us to hold things tightly and rely on ourselves. But during uncertain times, as believers in Christ, we are called to surrender fully to our sovereign God. Learn a biblically responsible investment strategy proven over 25 years. Keep the money God has entrusted to you out of companies that participate in things that God detests. Fully surrender. Become a Financial Issues Partner today.
At Financial Issues, saving babies has always been a part of our calling, because every day women in crisis are making heartbreaking decisions. But when a mother sees her baby on the ultrasound, everything changes. And right now, your gift can go twice as far, because every dollar you give is matched, doubling the number of ultrasounds and ultrasound machines provided through Preborn. Give today at preborn.com/FISM or dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby.
Mark, I'm so excited for what we have in this segment here. Of course, we're going to pause just for a moment on the conversation we had in that last segment, because we've got a special guest helping us unpack some social media drama, Mark. I'm really excited for this.
Have you seen some of that social media where they say America's 38 trillion financial reset has begun, and you got to be out by the 29th of May or you're going to lose all your money, don't have anything in the banks. It started, the U.S. dollar is being reset every 100 years.
You better go live in a hole in the desert.
This one's exactly. The government's about to take all your money away. The global monetary reset has begun, and you need to click on this button and then buy whatever they're selling. At least that's the way I'm taking it. But join us today to help us unpack and make sense of the social media drama is our good friend Kevin Freeman. Kevin's an economist, investment manager, leading expert on issues of economic warfare and financial terrorism, and he's a great author with some really great books. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Good to be with you.
No, we're glad you're here. So can you help us unpack this a little bit? Is this just drama, or is there anything to it?
Every, 6 months or so, somebody's going to come out and they're going to publish something on the internet that says, as of this date, the U.S. empire is over. And there's truth in it. There's truth in what they're saying, because the U.S. empire really is struggling at this point. But it's not true that as of this date, everything's going to change. Yeah, I'm hoping we're seeing the end of an empire and the beginning, the rebirth of a nation, in that we're beginning to pull back from some of the international things that we've done, and we're seeing changes. But they're not going to mean that the dollar goes away. It doesn't mean the stock market's going to crash, the banking system's going to go away. All of that is hype. It's hype intended to sell something, and people fall for it over and over and over again.
Isn't it usually gold that they're selling, though? I mean, and I know you're really big on gold, at least gold as a currency, but isn't it usually gold or precious metals or some Bitcoin or something?
Or real estate, or diamond, or a newsletter. You know, a lot of times it's just, hey, trust me, I've got the inside scoop on this. Sometimes it's a specific stock. But I remember a few years ago, they passed a tax law change where people overseas were going to have to report their overseas income as well as their U.S. income to the IRS. And they said that was going to cause this massive repatriation of money out of America. It was going to crash our economy and so forth. And they had a specific date. It never happened. Repeatedly, people proclaim the end of America as we know. In fact, there used to be ads called End of America, and you would use that code, End of America 36, to get their free newsletter. And you know what? That was 10, 15 years ago. It hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, and I'm so glad it hasn't. You know, so I think part of it also is the dollar, the U.S. dollar. Supposedly, the dollar is going to be destroyed. It's going to lose all credibility. Now, I think there's a possibility of that if we don't get our debt under control and our deficit. If we don't get that deficit spending and debt under control, our dollar eventually could lose its standing in the world. But it goes beyond that. They're talking about the dollar becoming totally worthless, like on the 29th as well. Thoughts there?
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, it might happen one day, but it's not going to happen on the 29th. And the dollar inevitably will lose its reserve currency status if we don't change the trajectory that we're on. I mean, we have almost $40 trillion of debt. When I wrote the book Pirate Money, which was less than 3 years ago, it was $32 trillion. So it's gone up almost $8 trillion in 3 years. That's unsustainable. Not only that, but our tax revenues haven't risen at the same rate. And so I just asked Grok, you know, how long before we have this hit the wall moment? And there will come a point in 20 years that if we don't change course, that our tax revenues will be exceeded by our interest expense on the debt. And when that happens, then you have a serious problem. So there's kernels of truth in this notion that one day the dollar will be worthless, but it's not going to happen on the 29th of May. It will happen if we don't address these problems sometime in the next couple of decades, probably. On the other hand, the world has absorbed massive amounts of debt before. The Japanese have produced enormous amounts of debt. If you have the right people buying that debt, and then you can survive big debt. The problem is that they want to use central bank digital currency. They want to use stable coins. They want to use a whole lot of other mechanisms to get that debt sold. Bottom line, short term, no, don't worry about that. Longer term, yeah, you should pay attention. You should vote for people that are not going to rack up debt like we've been racking it up. You should vote in Congress. You should do things to get our fiscal house in order. Good news, though, the U.S. is in better situation than most other nations of the world.
Yeah, so you put something bad next to worse, and bad looks good, huh?
Unfortunately, what I'm hoping is we have the end of an empire and the rebirth of a nation, that we're going to go back to the principles of the founding fathers and not onto this idea of an evil empire that rules the world.
Do you feel like the Federal Reserve is our central bank? It's in cahoots with the rest of the central banks around the world. Do you feel like they do have enough power to be able to destroy our nation and bring it down so that the one world order, as the conspiracy theories go, can look like Europe instead of America?
Well, I think that the trends are heading to make us look more like Europe than America, and the Trump administration is an interruption of that in a lot of ways. But the reality of it is the Federal Reserve isn't doing this as some mastermind. It is reckless spending. It is social programs out of control, and the Federal Reserve is literally forced to buy up debt that nobody else wants. They monetize the debt, and that has put us in a difficult path. Monetarily. Now, we have a solution to it. You mentioned it before, using gold and silver as money. It's why I wrote the book Pirate Money. 6 states have already adopted this into law, and on June 1st, we'll see Florida's laws implemented. So it'll be the first state in America to use gold and silver as legal tender money functionally in, over 100 years.
Please unpack that, because when you say that, it sounds simple and easy, but carrying around bars of gold as currency doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, that's true.
Give a better explanation of that.
Yeah, you can watch a video where Mark Dice, the comedian, is saying, would you like a Hershey bar or would you like a 10-ounce bar of silver? And he offers it to people, and they say, I'll take the Hershey bar. Why? Well, what would I do with this silver? Who's going to lug around 10 ounces of silver? Now, ignoring the fact that silver's worth, like $800 today, 10 ounces, they took the Hershey bar one after another because it was useful to them. So what we've got is a technology.
It's also chocolate. Come on.
It is chocolate, but
let's be fair.
But that $800 will buy you a whole lot of chocolate.
Oh yeah.
So the reality of it is that gold and silver don't function very well as money if you have to carry them around. But let's also be honest, we don't carry around a lot of dollars either. We use electronic transfer of the dollars. It is now something, so you go in, we won't take cash here, no coins accepted here, no dollars accepted here, so you tap a card and you pay for it and it comes out of your dollar account. Right. Tapping a card and having gold or silver transferred out of my account to the merchant, Walmart or whoever, it functions the exact same way. There's a technology company in the United Kingdom called Glint. And I've invested, full disclosure, my team and I have invested $1 million, and we're bringing Glint to the United States so that it can compete in Florida to be the provider of Florida currency. Not the only one. It'll be a free market open opportunity, but Glint has a probably, 17-year head start on developing this as a product, and it works. I use it every day.
Well, let's clarify. Let's make certain people understand there's a big difference between using gold as a currency and a gold-backed currency. Can you explain that? Can you make the difference there?
Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution says a state can make nothing other than gold and silver coin legal tender. They were not intending a gold-backed currency. They were intending actually using gold and silver coin. And based on court rulings and based on interpretations, if you have gold and it's on deposit, let's say, Mark, I had an ounce of gold on deposit and I wanted to buy from you, a book that you had, and I'm going to buy a financial issues book. And the book is $25. I would take a fraction of my gold out of my account and put it in your account, and it's just an accounting, and then you'd have that fraction of an ounce of gold in your account, and I'd have a book. We've just done exchange. We've used money in the way that it's designed to be used. It's a means of exchange. It's a unit of account and a store of value, and that gold can serve just as well as a $100 bill could serve.
Well, but right now we're only even close in 5 states. How long do you see that taking before it becomes nationwide?
Well, 6 states, which is exciting because we just added states. Utah this year. It passed in Kansas, but the governor vetoed it. But 6 states include Texas and Florida. And Texas and Florida combined, plus Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, and Utah, that represents about $6 trillion of gross domestic product. It is as large as any nation in the history of the world, with the exception of the United States as a whole and China currently. I mean, those are powerful states, and we're probably have 20 other states this coming year. It doesn't matter, though. Once we have it in the one state, Florida, you'll be able to use it in any state, just like if you can get a credit credit card from North Carolina, Bank of America. A lot of people have a Bank of America card that don't live in North Carolina, or a Discover card out of Utah, or there's cards out of Nebraska. It does not matter how many states we get. I want every state to participate because the Constitution allows it. But once we have one, everyone can use it, and every other state will line up to get it.
Yeah, well, I wish we had more time, but we got a minute and a half left here. And I'd like people to know, if they want more information, if they want to follow your research, your insights, your depth, how do they do that?
economicwarroom.com and sign up for the free battle plan. So you go economicwarroom.com/battle plans, and you'll get shows. We're on Blaze TV. You'll get access to our American Family radio show called Pirate Money Radio, which you've been on with me. And all of the research that we do is found at that one location. Watch all the old shows, get our free weekly newsletter, everything free if you go to economicwarroom.com.
economicwarroom.com. Thanks, Michael. Thank you for being here with us, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your insights, and I think this is something that's not being talked about enough. God bless you, sir. Look forward to having you back on real soon, and we can go in depth in a couple of other economic and gold situations that I didn't get to today. Meanwhile, you can call in at 610-363-1110 and join the party. We look forward to you doing so. You might have some questions after hearing a genius like Kevin.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
Each May, we celebrate Mother's Day and the gift that mothers are to us. But for many women carrying a child, motherhood feels uncertain. They're facing fear, doubt, and some are considering abortion. This May, you can help make motherhood possible by supporting Preborn. Preborn partners with clinics across the country, providing free ultrasounds and sharing the hope of Jesus Christ with women who are abortion-minded. When you give to Preborn, you're giving these women a chance to choose life. Just $28 helps a woman hear her baby's heartbeat, a powerful moment that leads 80% of mothers to choose life. And when we come together to sponsor 200 ultrasounds, we'll equip a preborn clinic with a life-saving ultrasound machine. Will you help make motherhood possible? Go to preborn.com/FISM to give today. That's preborn.com/FISM.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Folks, give us a call, why don't you? 610-363-1110. We would so love to hear from you. If you've got questions about anything that Kevin and Mark discussed in that last segment, I always enjoy listening to your insights, Mark. And I do hope that people will go to the Economic War Room website, Mark, for sure.
I do too. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, Kevin's doing some great work there. Really, really good. 610-363-1110. Hey, Mark, we got a quick chat question here. A great one from Daryl down in Texas near where Kevin is. He said, I missed the first part of Mark's comments in the first segment about company earnings. So you might have addressed this, but aren't these earnings beats being compared to the lowered guidance given last quarter, which tanked some of the same stocks?
That's a good insight. But yeah, it is. Remember, they lowered the bar a little bit for this quarter. There's different things that go on with companies manipulating, their numbers, or let me say their guidance, and then beating it. That's become normal in the markets to see that often. But that's why I said, we got to look at more than just the one thing that they beat their earnings. We got to look at revenues. We have to look at valuation. We have to look at all of that. And when we do so, we do still see it was a very good quarter for companies. It isn't that they just beat it, that they beat it on all levels, a lot of them. So it shows a strength right now in the cycle of the market that we're in with companies, or the economy with the companies. So yeah, there's some of that in there. Very good, Daryl. That's a good catch.
It's awesome. Daryl, it's a good question, brother. Appreciate it. All right, Mark, we've been keeping everyone on the edge of their seats here, waiting for the stock discussion. In particular, we're looking into the this dangerous tool that Sauron has given. No, I'm just kidding. That's the Lord of the Rings reference to Palantir. But
I was waiting for it. I was like, we're looking into Palantir. There's a double joke there for
that's
Lord of the Rings fans.
There you go. So, Mark, we saw recently, Palantir had a fantastic earnings report, Sam, right? Their earnings report was awesome, yet it seemed like the stock didn't really respond to it.
Right, blowout earnings report. I saw some people describing this as good of an earnings report as you could possibly hope for, beating both revenue and profit estimates. Revenue growth spread up for the 11th straight quarter, reaching 85%, a company record. Net income quadrupling compared to last year. The company also raising its full-year guidance for revenue, earnings, and free cash flow. But despite all this, it did not pop. It's down. I believe it's down, something like 5.35% for the past 5 days. It's up a little bit today, but overall, not seeing that enthusiasm that you might expect with those earnings. Analysts cited by Investopedia say the stock reaction was muted because of concerns about the rich valuation, but also growing competition in the space. So I want your reaction to this, Mark, and also, do you agree with the general analysis that Investopedia shared there, that it's about valuation mainly and possibly some of that competition?
Yeah, I really do. I agree with Investopedia's explanation in general. I think there's a little more nuance in there, but they probably knew that too. Palantir did have a very strong quarter. I don't care if you compare it to the lowered bar or if you compare it to whatever. It was a strong quarter, no matter how you look at it. But the stock price reaction was more about valuation than disappointment or excitement about the strong quarter. Remember, you can have a strong company and the value and way too high of a valuation. A strong company does not make a strong buy. A strong company just tells you it is doing real well. But if its valuation is already priced in everything for the next year, the projections for the next year, and have done so over and over again, eventually the thrill of the quarterly report just goes down the drain. It's like, okay, I'm paying, with them, we're paying outrageous amounts. I think the PE has been bouncing around above and below 100 for a while now. We see the PEG ratio much better, saying there is value in this because there's projected growth that looks really strong and positive, and they have beat expectations. But the thrill is gone with a company like Palantir, who we've been breathless waiting for them to execute more and more, and we realize, we're paying way too much for the current Palantir. because we're not just paying for the current, we're paying for the future. So people are worried about that. Why continue paying that kind of money for a stock when we could find other stocks that have a better PE, a better PEG ratio, a better free cash flow yield, those kind of things that we use to evaluate or to value a company. So, we also have competitive concerns going forward. I get that they have some unique things going on, but there's more and more people entering the same area. So here's the bottom line. As a steward, I don't want to confuse excitement with margin of safety. We don't have any margin of safety. If Palantir trips, it will pull back really hard. If they don't hit everything going forward, if the growth isn't what they projected, if the revenues and earnings don't hit what's expected, you're going to see major pullbacks. So don't confuse excitement with a margin of safety. If you own it, manage that position. If it's grown larger than your portfolio normally you'd want to hold a stock, trim it back. If you don't own it, be careful chasing it. Maybe buy it on pullbacks if you want to, but we have it on a hold, which means we don't put new money into it until we see some changes in this to where it catches up with itself. I did take a look at this and I tried to think of an illustration. And the only thing I could think of was a tennis game, and where the main, maybe there's a guy or a woman who's playing tennis and they're just so great. They keep beating everybody. And then, you come into a match and people say, well, this person's doing so well and they're so talented, they're going to slam dunk this unknown person they're playing against, or this little known. And they get into it, and they're doing that. They keep beating them up, but somewhere along the way, they trip over a rock or they trip over their tennis shoe and they lose a point. And then everybody freaks out. Well, that's the kind of thing that can happen because of expectations like we have with Palantir. And I don't like that. I don't like the idea that everything has to be perfect, because guess what? Outside of Seth and Sam, there's no perfection in this world.
Now I'm going to have to tell you to stop, Mark. Usually it's Seth.
Right? I mean, listen, Mark, I'm just in awe. That's all I can say every time I look in the mirror. No.
But it is amazing how investors can become, I don't know, almost habituated to really good earnings like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, they're a good thing, and they're something to watch. They're an indication of a company, no matter where the bar was set previously. If they have expanding earnings, if they have increasing revenues, if their debt is coming down, if the free cash flow is building slowly and steadily, if all these things are coming together, these are all good things. But if the valuation is such that you're paying $110 for every dollar of earnings or whatever, it's not worth it. It's too dangerous.
It's good stuff, Mark. I'm glad that you're bringing that insight to us, because I think it's so easy to just kind of look at the earnings as a blanket statement and then think, okay, good earnings must mean it's a good stock, must mean it's good good trajectory. But there's definitely more to it.
Well, it's a quarter. It's very short term.
Yeah.
It's like, even the clock's right twice a day, right?
Yeah, that's right. Even a broken clock. That's right. Yeah. Maybe that's what you meant more, Mark, when you said me and Sam are perfect, is that sometimes even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
They rely on smell, not sight. So,
Exactly. 610-363-1110. Guys, the markets yesterday skyrocketed. Had a really good day. All three major indices were well above 1%. The NASDAQ was actually up 2 full percentage points. S&P 500 hit a new sort of record benchmark, 7,300 points for the first time in its history. Whatever that means, Mark. It just means it was doing really well, I guess.
Well, yeah. And we look at that, and we look at today where the Dow's up, the S&P's up, the NASDAQ's up. Slightly, very slightly. But here's the good news. Crude oil's down again today. Yeah. We're down to $91 a barrel.
That's good.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Like you said yesterday, Mark, a little bit of red in that green. Love to see
Absolutely.
it there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of good stuff happening. One of the things I like most is we see all these business reports, beating earnings, beating revenues on the reports. That's an indication about the economy as well. It's showing that we have growth going on. And we just saw some interesting numbers coming out of the Fed and coming out of the government and stuff that are saying, all the news you're hearing on the other channels about affordability and the fear of inflation and the economy, it's fear mongering, and the numbers are saying something totally different. They're saying we're building an economy worth being proud of. This administration is doing the right things. Now, if we could just get them to the point to where that deficit comes down, everything would be perfect. I mean, I don't know what else they could do. If we saw a lowering of our debt by the end of this year, and definitely a serious lowering of the deficit, I would say put your seatbelts on. This economy is incredible, and it's going to affect the stock market in a very positive way. Maybe you don't agree with me. I mean, there have been people who didn't. You can call in, though, 610-363-1110, and let me know where I'm wrong.
My life before I met Jesus, I was most of the time afraid. I remember one of my teachers gave the classroom an invitation for Crossroads. When they talked to me about the love of God, I felt a sort of peace in my heart. I will commit myself to learn more about God's Word, to be able to share the gospel to others.
To help reach more kids like Louise with the life-changing hope of the gospel, visit reachOurSchools.com.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
At Financial Issues, saving babies has always been a part of our calling because every day women in crisis are making heartbreaking decisions. But when a mother sees her baby on the ultrasound, everything changes. And right now, your gift can go twice as far because every dollar you give is matched, doubling the number of ultrasounds and ultrasound machines provided through Preborn. Give today at preborn.com/FISM or dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Hope you'll join us, folks, on the call queue. We've got a couple calls in the queue right now, Mark, so let's get to it. The number is 610-363-1110, and we've got Thomas calling from Texas.
Hey, Thomas. Welcome. I hope Texas is doing well for you. What's on your mind today? Are you with us, Thomas?
Taking my call, guys. Oh. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Gotcha, Thomas. Good
okay, there's probably a delay. I'm on a sale. I'm in a home, so I may not have good reception.
You sound great now, brother. All good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone in chat mentioned the S&P record, which is great, but my question is, and it's something that I don't hear you guys talking about very often, if at all, and that's the concentration risk. Should the concentration risk of the S&P scare us, and is there a warning there that's not being talked about?
Well, I think it is talked about, maybe not as often as it should be, but that concentration in those mega caps that move the S&P can be scary. It makes it look like, S&P 500, we have 500 stocks just traveling upwards real strong. Well, we could have the top 10 cap size stocks in the S&P rise one day and everything else go down and the S&P would still rise. So yeah, it's something to be aware of. That's just an indicator though. As Christian investors, we never would invest in an S&P index. We wouldn't do that because 40 to 60% or even more in the S&P 500 would not pass the BRI screening, the biblically responsible screening, because it's involved in pornography and so many things. So we wouldn't use an S&P 500 index to invest in. And that's why we use individual stocks. That's why we use Timothy Plan, ETFs and mutual funds. That's why we look at a lot of different things besides the S&P 500. At one time when I had my advisory service, the way we managed money is we created an S&P of our own. We called it the serpent. We called it the S&D, the serpent and dove, based on the Matthew verse, be wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove, which means understand how the markets work, but only participate in a way that doesn't harm others and glorify God. So there are ways and there are indexes that can be formed by that. But you should use it as an indicator because it does show something about the markets. You just have to dig deeper, like you were saying, Thomas. Make sure it's just not the top 10 overweighted, mega caps that are in there, because the S&P 500 is a cap weighted index, not an equally weighted. So you nailed it on that, Thomas. Good insight.
Thomas, you also brought up a really good point there, and it's part of the reason why we don't just look at the S&P 500 when we give the market updates. We're also mentioning the Dow and mentioning the NASDAQ and even the Russell 2000 also. We don't want to just concentrate on the S&P 500 too. Make sense?
Right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And by the way, I got to give a shout out to our chat buddies. Things are great down here in Farr. It's quiet. We're 13 miles from the Mexico border, and like I said, everything's quiet. And I do have to ask Seth,
yes, sir,
what does his TYEST actually mean?
I'll give you a quick story, Thomas. So when I put test in the chat, TYEST, that's an inside joke because I'm a terrible typer. And so back in the day, I used to put a test into the chat just to make sure everything was working. And I would always spell it wrong. Like I'd put a Y where it wasn't supposed to be. And so it became a running joke. So now at the beginning of every show, I put test into the chat. So that's what that is.
He's just getting ahead of himself, so you can't make fun of him.
Thomas, this is 4D chess that we're talking about here, brother. This is doctoral level. Excellent.
Well, thank you, Thomas. God bless you. So really appreciate your insights.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, God bless you all. Have a great day.
Thanks,
you
Thomas.
too.
You too.
God bless.
Mark, let's get to Jeff, shall we?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jeff. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hey, I can beat Seth on that. I spelled my son's name wrong. William, with I from A or A in front of the I. My wife said, you spelled your son's name wrong? But anyway.
Yeah. No, wait, Jeff. I don't mean to be a one-upmanship on degrading ourselves, but as a kid, I spelled my middle name wrong. It was spelled A-L-A-N, and I spelled it A-L-L-E-N. I don't know why, but I spelled that way until I was a teenager and an adult, actually until I was adult. And I spelled it wrong all that time. On the birth certificate, it was A-L-A-N. So when I had my first son, I named him A-L-L-E-N for his middle name.
When you'd have a spelling bee, and I would probably lose, but that's okay.
I pity that bee.
There you go. I am an income investor, 73 years old. I like the sound of the TPFI, the fixed income Timothy. I'm real low in fixed income. My question, I know we're supposed to have percentages. Of course, it's a 24%, I believe, allocation for that as an income investor. what would happen if I put all my money into that? Or should I stick with like 3%?
Oh, no. The 3% is an entry level for individual stocks or securities. When you get into a mutual fund or an ETF, both those are a fund. They're a bucket that dozens, if not hundreds of different securities are poured in alignment with the prospectus. In this case, it's going to be fixed income. So they're going to have treasuries. They're going to have different lengths of bonds, maturities of bonds. They're going to have corporate bonds. They're going to have possibly a little bit of preferreds and stuff. I don't have the fact sheet on all that it's going to carry, but if you just use that to cover the fixed income, at this point you could do that, or you could do a combination of the Timothy Plan fixed income mutual fund and the ETF. Until I get the prospectus and the fact sheet on that fund, I wouldn't know what the overlap would be there. So in general, though, use it as a broad brush. Absolutely. Use it as a broad brush, and because everything that's in there is as screened as diligently as possible for biblical responsible, and they have great managers on top of it. So 3% is when you're using a fund, generally it would be much better than that. It'd be a broad brush. It'd be 10, 15. Depending on the fund itself and your options. You don't have a lot of options, by the way, for fixed income in the ETF world that are clean. So just throwing out there, this would be one to embrace.
Okay, well, so if I looked it up at Fidelity yesterday, and there was no fee or anything, so that's like, praise the Lord. But if I put it all in the TPFI, the 24%, then I'm okay for fixed income because everything else is allocated. I mean, I've kind of called my cash fixed income, but it's really not. And the CDs are so low, I stayed away from them.
Well, your CDs, your cash, your any treasuries you might have, or your money market, all that I would add into the fixed income. I know cash is a little. I wouldn't use cash if it's being sitting there to redeploy to other areas, or if it's being there for a short-term obligation or a plan. Usually, we keep a small amount of cash that I would just say is cash anyway in any portfolio, so you can act upon new buys and stuff like that.
Right. So, okay, well, that sounds like I'm safe. Either I will get some. I may not do the 24%, but maybe I'll do 15 or something like that.
There you go. I think 10 to 15% is a good area, a good target.
Okay, you guys are godsends, then we just love your ministry so much.
And I look forward to getting this all in the back end for you in the Partners Hub. Again, we're in the middle of upgrades and different things. We can't do all the changes we need to do with the asset allocations, with the new ETFs. It could be a few weeks before we get it on there properly. So, be watching for that, but you'll see it. Yeah, it is. It is. It's an ETF. It trades on the market.
I've kind of been waiting for this. Like I say, the CDs are zero pretty much. Yeah. This is another blessing from you guys, and it's true.
Glory to, don't you?
Oh, it's absolutely. But he's got his.
It's not me, and it's not Seth and Sam. It's the one true God.
Yeah. Amen. Brother.
He's honoring us by using you guys for this, and we're just so thankful. But thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for calling in, because it is a great call. It helped define a lot of things. We really appreciate it, Jeff. We really love it when our partners, our viewers, our listeners call in. And this is one of those questions that help define a lot of things. And almost every time somebody calls in, Seth, I feel the same way about it. It's like, that's a great question. This is a great learning moment,
Amen, Mark. Yeah, and we just so appreciate, man, Jeff's testimony of how the ministry's blessed him. Speaking of that, Mark, actually, tomorrow is a very special day for us. It is Friday, but we're also asking for folks to call in and share a testimony of how Preborn has blessed you, about giving to Preborn. So it's going to be a special day tomorrow, Mark. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear how you have participated with Preborn, just like we have, to save babies, to help moms. And we want to go into overtime with you tomorrow. Why don't you get in the queue already, 610-363-1110. That way you'll be there at 9 o'clock tomorrow when we go into overtime. God bless you all. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for loving the Lord and investing with biblical integrity. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.